Here is a review of a comic that I already reviewed the trade paperback of, and also did a pointless 1 hour long video proving that it is canon. But this is one of my favourite comics, so I'll review whatever I want. This is Thanos the End, or Marvel the End, or Marvel Universe the End. I call it Thanos the End because that is what it said on the original trade that I had, which I read so much it fell apart. This is by Jim Starlin, and in my opinion, this is the ultimate Thanos story. I would controversially put this above Infinity Gauntlets even. I think this offers a fantastic character study without getting sidetracked by Jim Starlin's usual create as pet stuff, which sounds crazy to claim in a story where Thanos becomes the supreme being in the universe. But I feel nearly everything in this story is earned. We have artwork by Jim Starlin too, and I didn't think he is a great artist, but there is definitely something admirable about him doing the art here. He really gives it his all. He really tries. It is like with this story, he wants to show that he could do a big crossover by himself. And Jim Starlin maybe isn't the best at it, but all the while it is so respectable and sincere. And this really does feel like a labour of love for Jim Starlin. He just wanted to do a big story like he had done in the past, but he wanted to be responsible for as much of it as he could, both the writing and the art, and I love it. But, and this is a big but, it is like Eva Mendes's but. Some of my biggest criticisms of this story are within this first issue. Like, we have one of my least favourite writing tricks ever. You see, we are going back into the past to learn what has happened. Thanos, he has destroyed the universe, and he is going to tell us how it came to pass. I didn't think having Thanos doing a flashback adds anything to the overall story. He is narrating it, but that could just as easily have been done without these wraparounds. And it also presents a suspension of disbelief problem where we have stuff happen that Thanos was not present for, or that actually bears very little relevance to the story that Thanos is telling. Like, we begin with the Excellent Men, and the Ore is pointlessly telling Smurf a history lesson about an Egyptian Oreo who was fat, and his body was never found. And the idea here is that this fat Oreo, he was actually abducted by aliens, and that is why he was never discovered. And he will be our main bad guy for this story, but the Excellent Men will not be our main characters. Dr. X, he has done detected the arrival of a mysterious cosmic presence. Wouldn't it be wacky if it turned out it was the fat Oreo that the Orr was just telling Smurf about? Random cutaway here to Alan Watson, who doesn't factor into the story at all until the final part. This is also the only time the little girl from Affinity Abbey is ever seen outside of that story. She cryptically warns Alan Watson that everything is going to change. This is what I call the DC crossover style. We show and set up a bunch of characters. Not all of them will actually be relevant to the story being told, but it adds a lot of flavour and scope. Jim Starman usually always did that with his Marvel crossovers, and I like it. Here we are in Fairyland. We have Thor. He is King of Fairyland. This is during Stan Jurgensen's underrated run on Thor, where Thor became king. And he is contacted by Fat Oreo, who announces his intention to conquer Earth and how it is his rightful property, and that all the other gods, they should relinquish any claim to the planet. So then we cut to Silver Surfman in space as he finds the shite-arse empire in ruins, destroyed by Fat Oreo. And I have no idea why, and nor do I have any idea what is meant to be happening to Guardian here. He is dying and then he dies, but how is not really communicated that well. Then we have our main character, Thanos. He has been searching for a cosmic energy known as the Source, and he becomes aware of Fat Oreo as he has an energy trail that matches the energy from the Source. We also have Fantastic Force, who are very quick to register the presence of this massive energy-powered being on Earth. And after this, here is a double splash page of all the excellent men assembled in preparation for battle with Fat Oreo. Nice big image of the team together, and Red Lotus, who other than this has never been a member of the Excellent Men. I suspect Steelman was drawn and then swapped out when Jim Starman was told that he had been dead for ages. So Dr. X uses his magic mutie helmet to try and reach out and contact Fat Oreo and determine what his intentions are, and straight away learns Fat Oreo is malevolent and he has designs to take over Earth. But before Dr. X can react or do anything about it, all the excellent men are destroyed by Fat Oreo. I didn't need to say it, but I'm not crazy about this element of the story. Most of the heroes are killed with the wave of a hand. I understand they needed to be out of the way, but maybe make the series 2 issues longer and allow the Excellent Men or the Avengers some chance to contribute to it. Even if, like, in Affinity Gauntlets or Affinity Walls, they are just a distraction for the bad guy. Mr. Doom, however, is a main character in this story, and he is written tremendously throughout. He is like the one person on Earth who actually manages to do something. He actually manages to succeed and stand against Fat Oreo. And here is George Bush. Remember him? George Bush. In a world where we have had a criminal president and Donald Trump, I am still of the belief that George Bush was the worst president. He couldn't even get off the country on his side in the face of one of the most horrific tragedies to befall any country. And that is a testament to how unfit for office he was. All the world leaders, George Bush, Tony Blair, Black Panther, Mr. Doom, they are summoned and teleported to a conference with Fat Oreo, and there is some terrible lowbrow political satire in this scene, with each of the leaders blaming the other. And Fat Oreo's meeting with them is televised, and here Spider-Man is seeing it be broadcast. And Fat Oreo, he basically announces that Earth is his now. He is the ruler of the planet, and he is their god. To be honest, his approach to it isn't bad. He says that all the governments and stuff can remain in play and still be active, but they answer to him now. And with his cosmic powers, he will make Earth prosper and be a better place. Unfortunately, he is also evil and has eyes on conquering the entire universe. So him waving his hands to cure AIDS, it isn't really enough to say, yeah, let's let Fat Oreo take over Earth. But from this, Mr. Doom, he has now met his adversary, and he was prepared, and he is now spying on him with a hidden drone thing. Next up, didn't get your hopes up, but Avengers Assemble. We've got loads of the Avengers here. We have Fantastic Force as well. Nice double page spreads. But it is as unsatisfying as the way the Excellent Men went. Fat Oreo just wishes them away because they would oppose him. It feels disingenuous to call this Marvel Universe the end when most of the ones people recognise are obliterated in the first issue. Mr. Doom is handled great though, and we also have the Defenders. They are the superhero team who Thanos has brought to him to help combat Fat Oreo. They have included Captain Marbles, the real one, genis-vell, so it avoids the tiresome feel of it just being the original 4 Defenders. We get a character moment between Spider-Man and Daredevil when they see the Avengers and Fantastic Force's bodies being crucified and displayed in public as examples of rejecting Fat Oreo. Back with 4, he goes to Liam Neeson from Clash of the Titans, because Liam Neeson has a very particular set of skills, and they are going to need them to do something about Fat Oreo. The cosmic abstracts have also come together to recognise the threat of Fat Oreo, and that, as always, they cannot do anything about it. And that is the ominous ending to the first issue. I don't think I can conclude on this one. This is definitely an issue and a story where my personal nostalgia is probably overwhelming my critical factor. I think this is a great story, a tremendous character study, and the spotlight on very specific other characters like Mr. Doom and Thor and the Defenders. That is all wonderful. I love those subplots. I think they are great and exciting. Is this a good comic, or is it a comic that I like and remember well because I have read it so much? Do you like it? It's up to you to decide if this deserves 7 thumbs up. And instead, I will say this comic is canon.